big national controversies competing for headlines out of the White House concerning the Jeffrey Epstein files, but also the Trump-Russia collusion conspiracy. We'll see what is going on here with Illinois in Focus Daily as Governor J.B. Pritzker was asked about the Epstein files, and we'll do a little bit of a historical analysis of some comments that have been made about that in the past, but also about the Russia-Trump collusion narrative. So where do we start here? Which is the most, salient? Which headline do you think is the most important? The Epstein file release or the information that DNI Tulsi Gabbard found on the Russia-Trump collusion conspiracy theory that was promulgated throughout the media for the first couple of years of President Donald Trump's first term in office, 2017 to 2021. So which is it? I'd love to see if the live chat sounds off on this. Is it the Epstein files that are the most important, or is it the Russia-Trump collusion conspiracy theory that is being alleged by the White House? Again, you can comment and let me know there. So where do we start? I think we start with what Governor J.B. Pritzker said about the Epstein files just this week. He was asked about it at a unrelated news conference in Chicago, where the question was, do you think that voters are really concerned about the Epstein file release?
This, frankly, is just an excuse for them to yet do nothing to help people, and the problems that the president has with revealing and being transparent about the Epstein files. I do not know why. I think that he ran telling everybody he was going to make transparent what the truth was, and doesn't seem to want to do that now.
Do you think people care about that?
I think people are quite curious and suspicious, frankly, about why it is that the president now doesn't want to do what he promised he would do, and what seems, like an obvious thing that he ought to do, which is just reveal what the truth is about Jeffrey Epstein.
Now, there's obviously some intricacies in doing all of that, including the call for Ghislaine Maxwell, the associate of Epstein, who's serving, 20 years in prison for sex trafficking. And the big question that people have is, if she was sex trafficking, who was she sex trafficking to? Was it just Epstein, or were there others? The Department of Justice saying there is no client list for Epstein, but they have moved forward to interview Ghislaine Maxwell in prison. There's even efforts to try to have Ghislaine Maxwell testify in front of Congress. Plus, you had the request to the judge on the various documents that are part of a grand jury being released, and I believe that judge has denied that request. So clearly the story is ongoing and developing. But flashing back to 2019, Governor J.B. Pritzker, here's the headline that you can find at the Center Square. Governor J.B. Pritzker doesn't know if cousin Thomas Pritzker knew Epstein after name included in sex trafficking allegations. Again, this is August 12th of 2019. Governor J.B. Pritzker being asked about that. Here is that moment that we captured from the Center Square back in 2019. How many years ago was that? 6 years ago? Holy cow.
Thomas Pritzker, who I believe, if I your family tree is an older cousin of yours, he was implicated in the documents that came out over the weekend saying that he had solicited texts from Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking ring. As a member of the Pritzker family, would you call that he stepped down as Hyatt CEO?
First of all, I was unaware if he knew Jeffrey Epstein at all, and as you know, I do not. At this moment, I just say that I think that justice needs to be pursued here. There, of course, were some terrible things that were alleged here that Jeffrey Epstein seems to have done. And so I hope that the justice system will pursue the allegations that were made to the fullest extent of the law and make sure that the victims get the justice that they deserve.
Again, this is from 2019, August, when Pritzker was asked that question at a totally unrelated news conference here in Springfield about his cousin Thomas being brought up in the context of Jeffrey Epstein. But then in January of 2024, we get this headline: Pritzker's cousin Thomas named by Epstein victim and released depositions. Now, Thomas Pritzker spokespeople say that they vehemently denied the allegations. They told that to the Daily Mail back in 2024. But you can go and find the depositions at the Center Square. If you just search, Thomas Pritzker, Epstein, you'll be able to find the archives, including the depositions of these individuals that were being asked questions by attorneys and having official documents filed into the court record. So you can read some of that and catch up on that particular case. So that's the Epstein files situation. Now, of course, you a lot of innuendo in all of this, right? Because we just don't have the documents in hand. And will we get those documents? Not too sure. But some saying that, a lot of powerful people may be implicated, including President Donald Trump, who had a relationship with Epstein for years, only to eventually kick him out of his club with some suspicious and questionable behavior Epstein was conducting himself with. So you've got that storyline as well. How is Trump going to be implicated if the documents come out? So official documentation people are still waiting for, but you've got President Donald Trump, flashing back here today, this week. He talked about the Department of National, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, releasing some documentation showing that a former president has conspired to essentially derail the first Trump administration.
May I ask you about that, Mr. President? Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper, the whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here, this was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up that came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they... Look, he's guilty. It's not a question. I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election.
So again, Trump highlighting what he called the witch hunt back then. And during his first couple of years in office, all this started kind of matriculating out that intelligence officials were essentially laundering certain types of intelligence documents through the intelligence community to taint the Trump administration and to have this question about being a Vladimir Putin stooge for Russia. All throughout. If you recall, that was pretty intense. A lot of cable news networks were insistent that this was a real thing and that they needed to have all these hearings about, and it really kind of gummed the works up. So Trump has been after this for 6, 7, 8, almost a decade now. I mean, 2016 is when he announced his bid for president. So Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard yesterday held a press availability at the White House, and here's some of what she had to say.
We are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out.
So Gabbard spelling out how they carried it out. They even had a chart of sorts that kind of shows a little bit of the timeline here. Here's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt talking about that.
To engage in a peaceful transfer of power. In private, former President Obama went to great and nefarious lengths to try to sow discord among the public and sabotage his successor, President Trump. The new evidence released by the Director of National Intelligence, who is here with me today, confirms that the Obama administration manufactured politicized intelligence, which was later used as the justification for baseless smears against President Trump in an effort to try to delegitimize his victory before he even took the oath of office. The truth is that President Trump never had anything to do with Russia, and the Russia collusion hoax was a massive fraud perpetuated on the American people from the very beginning.
So Leavitt highlighting the ongoing issues around the intelligence community during the Obama administration and even stretching into the first Trump administration. Now, back in 2018, I had been reading up on all of this and reading what the Republicans from the House and the Senate were developing and researching and investigating, and they had a lot of information about the Russia-Trump collusion conspiracy theory and how it was manufactured back then. And I remember asking U.S. Senator Dick Durbin about this back in 2018, and again, this is flashing back. Here's Durbin being asked explicitly by me about the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act abuses that were being alleged back then by Republicans.
Use the Federal Intelligence Surveillance Act. You're not familiar with this?
Well, tell me, I mean, the Republicans find a lot of abuses.
They laundered the dossier about Trump through the Department.
No, of course that didn't happen. What was turned over to the FISA court, and those federal judges are not chosen on a political basis, was turned over to the federal court, made a disclosure of the fact that the original Steele dossier was done for political purposes. They knew that going in. There was a full disclosure, and they still felt there was enough substance to go forward. It's a red herring.
But I have real concerns when you have FBI agents that are politically motivated, it appears, in this process. I've been willing to give Robert Mueller the discretion that he needs, but we're getting into a period of time that is way too long. What I've said is we need to wrap this up sooner rather than later.
Again, that's just that was Congressman Darren LaHood, who is still in Congress back in 2018, following Senator Dick Durbin back in 2018, talking about the Russia-Trump collusion accusations back then of manufactured information, and LaHood saying it's taking way too long. Again, that was 2018. It's 2026 now. It's 8 years later, and we're just now getting this information from the second non-consecutive Trump administration. So again, two major controversies competing for headlines: the release of the Epstein files, when is that going to happen? And this new revelation of the progeny of the Russia-Trump collusion narrative over the past nearly 10 years now. Pretty fascinating stuff, but obviously when Illinois officials are talking about it, we're gonna cover it. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning here with more Illinois in Focus Daily.